Belle. Mm. Mm. Why did you kiss my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where's your other hand? Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
I wouldn't say we made it, but we made it through. We just had
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Legion of Nerds. I'm Chuck.
I'm Brandy.
I'm Brian.
Today, coming at you with a Thanksgiving movie. Probably my favorite, probably the best Thanksgiving movie ever.
It is.
There's not a lot to pick from when it comes to Thanksgiving movies, but
There's not.
This one, to me, tops them all. We were discussing it earlier, and this movie probably will be in my top 10 of movies, period. Like, not comedies, like, just period. It'll probably be in my top 10. Like, if I ever sat down and did, this movie would be there. I fucking love this movie. Like,
Be a couple of John Candy movies in my top 10.
Yeah. He was
Uncle Buck.
sorely missed after he left.
Yes, he was.
He had just really started to go. And he wasn't even 50. He was like 44 when he passed or something like that.
God, he could have been a man. Yeah, the stuff he'd have been doing now. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been even more of a great than what he was.
Yes. If y'all hadn't figured it out yet, we are talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, of course, from 1987. Directed by John Hughes. Starring Steve Martin and John Candy.
Two great actors.
Yes, like John Hughes wasn't even supposed to direct this movie. There was another guy going to direct it, but then Steve Martin signed on because he loved the script so much, and John Hughes was like, "No, man, I'm going to direct because it's Steve Martin."
Yep. You blame him?
No.
I mean, come on. Steve Martin is just, he's a genius.
Right, and what's funny is the other movie was a John Candy movie too.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like, "Nope, I'm with Steve Martin." And that's great. You see what we got in the
Yes.
end. Like, I'm not saying that the other guy wouldn't have been good, but
No telling.
right. He had directed like 2 or 3 other John Hughes movies. I can't quite remember his name. Do you remember his name?
Howard Deutsch.
Howard.
Yes,
Deutsch. That's right.
Deutsch.
Yeah.
Deutsch.
I think it's Dutch. The other one was Great Outdoors, by the way.
Oh, another great movie. Another great
That
movie.
was the movie they swapped.
Yes.
Yep. And that turned out to be another great movie.
That's right.
The Bald Bear.
There was a lot of other great faces that showed up in the movie, and we'll talk about it as we go. But Steve Martin and John Candy are pretty much the driving force behind this movie, period. And John Hughes, of course.
Yes.
It's got a 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 72 out of 100 on Metacritic. The budget was $15 million, and it made almost 50 in the box office.
That's a good sell right there, man.
1987? Yeah.
Especially back in them days.
Yes. It made a chunk. And of course, comedies don't usually make a whole lot of money, but they're cheap to make.
Yes.
So, and just a little bit of profit is good. And I don't know, I would consider it a hit. Siskel and Ebert considered it a hit.
John Hughes considers it a hit.
Oh, yes,
It's a
of
hit.
course he does.
It is a hit.
It is.
It's a classic.
That's right. I am so surprised that we haven't gotten a remake. Like, there's been a couple of movies that kind of like
They
was
tried, it
close,
seemed like.
but they haven't given us the Thanksgiving story remake.
yeah.
Like Due Date with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
Like, that's close.
Dutch.
The movie Dutch,
Yeah.
with Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, and the little boy.
Right.
See, I said Al Bundy.
Yeah. See, because
That's who's about to come out of my mouth.
we had discussed Dutch for a
Yeah.
Thanksgiving movie.
That's a good movie.
Yeah. In 2020, they had announced that they were going to do an actual remake, and they had Will Smith and Kevin Hart to do it. And then the slap heard around the world happened, and that all went to crap. And then in 2022, Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler were talking about trying to remake it somehow. But I'm surprised that we ain't at least got like a 6-part miniseries on Netflix called
Something
Planes,
like, yeah.
Trains, and Automobiles, where each episode they go through a crazy thing till the
Do an
end.
episode at a different station, at a different station,
Right.
on a different trip.
That's
Say
right.
whether it's been on the train or on the plane or in
That's
the
right.
car. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I just never understood. And of course, the movie tells the story of Neil, an uptight marketing executive, and Dale, a well-meaning but annoying salesman who become travel companions when their flight gets diverted and embark on a 3-day odyssey of misadventures trying to reach Chicago in time for Neil's Thanksgiving Day dinner with his family. And yes, the shenanigans ensue.
Oh man.
And the idea came from Hughes, because he wrote this movie in like 4 days. But that's what John Hughes did. Like
All his movies, he writes in a weekend, 4 to 5 days. He
Yeah.
reads it at the end. If he doesn't like it, he throws it away.
he wrote this whole story, and if he don't like the story, he just throws it away. And
That's how most writers work, though.
well, in 4
or 5
Steve
days?
Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Martin looked at him and said, "Man, it took me 4 years to write Roxanne, and you wrote this movie in 4 days." Like, that's ridiculous. Like, but that's what he did. Like, he met Molly Ringwald, went home and wrote 16 candles in 3 days
I remember that.
with her in mind. And
He got a gift, man.
he did. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, when the actors were cast in the roles, he would go back and do rewrites to more
Yeah.
make it fit the
character
the
that played
actors.
the role.
That's right. And this came from John Hughes actually happening to him. He left New York
Trying to get to Chicago.
on a plane and got diverted to Wichita. And then it took him 5 days, I think is what it said, to get home. Now, the shenanigans in the movie
Yeah.
didn't happen,
Those
but it
are
still took
exaggerated,
him that long to, like, the premise of it, it really happened to him, which is crazy. Like, to think about. John Hughes actually acted out the whole script for this publicist when he was trying to sell it. Like, can you imagine John Hughes acting out?
That would have been hilarious. Like watching this man flop around, just saying, "Okay, now I'm being
That's right.
Yeah. You're like, okay, dude, what do you got any more of what you got?
right.
Straight up. Straight up. What you doing over there, buddy? Mind if I get a little taste? A little of that movie taste.
That's right. And Chicago was no winter. Like, the year they shot it, it didn't even look like winter, so they had to take it elsewhere to shoot it, which...
Chasing snow.
Right.
The curse of anything that wants some kind of weather scene.
Yes.
Well, that's right. Then they just use a water hose.
Be cold as hell.
Cold as ice.
Yes. Look, Steve Martin and John Candy loved the script so much that once they got cast and everything, they set in on all the auditions and read with the actors that came in. Like, you rarely see that.
No.
Like, but they loved the script so much that that's what they did. They loved
loved
it
it.
so much.
See?
And Steve Martin, he said that the F-bomb scene is the reason why he wanted to do the movie. That whole monologue. Like, that's
I
fantastic.
think that was his first cussing movie, too.
Well, no, right?
Steve Martin.
Jerk.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Oh, my God.
mean, The
I
Jerk.
always forget about The Jerk, dude. That's
Love
one of
me
my
some
favorite
Jerk.
movies.
That's right, the Jerk. Jerk.
Love me some Steve Martin, period.
Yes.
That's right.
We grew up watching that. every Sunday or every Saturday, Sunday on local channels.
Father of the Bride is probably up there in my favorites.
The Man with Two Brains.
Oh my God.
Look, before this movie, there was Three Amigos.
Oh,
Yes.
I love.
That's right. Little Shop of Horrors. Like, yeah.
The crazed dentist.
Yes. I love me some Little Shop of Horrors. We're going to cover it here for too long. Like, feed me.
Feed
Hungry.
me, Seymour.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me. Ah. That's right. All right. We start off in New York with Steve Martin at a business meeting with Ferris Bueller's dad. From this point forward, there will be a John Hughes universe in this episode.
Yep.
So if I just name off these people, just believe it. Just don't argue with me. Like, y'all out there, don't argue. Just believe that John Hughes had his own big universe before Kevin Smith, before the Marvel universe, before any of that. There was a John Hughes universe.
It was a universe.
That's right. Because later on, Ben Stein shows up, and it's like his family from Ferris Bueller. Like the principal's aide shows up later on. It's like her twin sister from Ferris Bueller.
Kevin
You
Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon. She's having a baby. It's the same character. I'm telling you, like in the same universe. So here we go. But yeah, in the business meeting, and the boss man or the client, he's taking forever. And Neil is trying to get out of this meeting because he's got to catch a flight out at 6, so he can get home in time to do the Thanksgiving thing with the family. And then, of course, he gets out. They're running. And Ferris Bueller's dad tells him, "You ain't gonna make the 6. You're never gonna make the 6." And he wasn't going to make the 6. He was messed up from the beginning. Like, he goes down, tries to call for the cab, and that's when he sees Kevin Bacon across the way. And they meet eyes, and Kevin Bacon with his $1 million squint, or his $1 million like ha ha ha.
Smirk.
That's right. Like you said, I got you, old man.
Yep.
I guarantee that's what it's all about. Is the young dude's coming.
Yep.
He's gonna get it. But that's also where Neil has his first run-in with Dale Griffith. Not the dude, but his trunk. Because his trunk's the first thing that fucks him up. Like, this is the beginning of the beating of Steve Martin through this whole movie.
Yes.
And it starts with that trunk.
Yep. When he trips over it.
That's right. But then he gets to the lawyer. The lawyer, he's trying to pay the lawyer to get his cab, right? I don't know if y'all recognize him, but he's from Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes.
He's the big bad guy.
Yep.
From Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh my God.
That's right. And he pays him like $75, but then somebody gets in the cab while they're negotiating and takes off with it anyway. So he starts chasing them down, right? And I don't know about y'all, but I always get a kick out of how Steve Martin's running.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if that's actually how Steve Martin runs or if he's like putting on a show.
Yes.
But man, it's fucking hilarious. Anytime he's running.
Almost kind of look like a flail.
That's right. He does catch up to the cab, and when he swings it open, who does he get? John Candy. Dale Griffith. And he's just looking at him like, what the hell's going on? And Steve Martin's yelling at him, la 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 la, you took my cab. Right. So, but the cab takes off and he gets left behind and everything. But he does end up getting to the airport. And again, like we commented on earlier, this is long before you had to wait in line for 2 hours to get in.
God.
Like, you could actually show up at the airport and get on the plane in 10 minutes.
Yep. Just walk in.
That's right. But he does run back into Dale. And they end up having a discussion about the cab and everything. When they get to on the airplane, they have switched Steve Martin's ticket. Steve Martin thought he was getting first class, but they swapped him to coach. Yeah. And he ends up having to sit next to Dale Griffith. That's right. He just keeps talking, blah, 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 blah. And he can't even, nope. And he falls asleep, and then the man beside him on this side if I'm not mistaken, is Molly Ringwald's grandpa from 16 Candles, the same actor. So in my head canon, he's flying to Chicago for something to do with Molly Ringwald from 16 Candles. See, big, huge John Universe.
Universe.
That's right, John Universe. But they're asleep, and then of course the plane gets diverted to Wichita because Chicago is snowed out. No landing in Chicago.
There's a blizzard.
That's right. Chicago. They get to Wichita, and of course they have to go to a motel or whatever because Steve Martin's too good to sleep in the airport. Mm-hmm. And Dale has already got a room lined up with somebody he knows because he's been selling shower curtain rings to this dude. Right? So, and this is where the credit card happened. The credit card switch happens. Yep. The Diners Club or credit card, whatever it is. And they don't even notice it. And to be honest, it's a long ways before it pays that off.
Yeah,
that is true.
It's one of those, if you haven't watched the movie a lot, you'd probably forget about that.
Yep.
And when it came back, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
That's right. And they have to share a room. And
a bed.
That's right. And here's the shenanigans that ensue. My biggest question is, how does Steve Martin get in the shower with the bathroom in that shape and not notice it?
And then get out upset about it.
Yeah.
And only notice that there's like a little itty towel.
Yeah, and he used all the towels. That's like a crime. You can't use all the towels.
No matter. I mean, come on.
Like, I don't care how big you are and how little you think I am. You gonna give me a hand towel? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, he was just oblivious to it all? Or did John Candy come back in there while he was in the shower and mess it all up?
Never know. But on that same one, man.
Shenanigans.
Of course, they're gonna have to share a bed. And they get in bed, and then John Candy starts making all these crazy noises. And this is the first confrontation that we really have in the movie, where Neil tries to tell Dale about himself. And really cuts to the bone for a minute. Mm-hmm. And you can see the hurt on Dale's face. And John Candy was a great actor.
Yes,
he really was.
And the emotion and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
but instead of lashing out, you can tell like he just pulls it in and then tells him that I love who I am. My wife loves me. Like, you can try to hurt me, and like I could be cynical like you and lash out at everybody. I just don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and I like me for who I am. And I want to stop right there and talk about, do you think any of these situations in this movie, like Dale Griffith did on purpose? Like, seriously, or at least did things on purpose to make sure Neil was with him?
There has always been a part of me that has wondered if Dale was a demon.
Oh, yeah. Especially,
I understand that there's that devil moment
yes.
in the movie, but even before that, it was like there is no way that it is a coincidence or a convergence that all this bad stuff happens when this person's around. And that's why I said he's a demon, he's evil, he is setting this up.
Right.
I still want to know why he was going to Chicago.
He was just flying. I think he was just flying from spot to spot. Like, you know what I mean? Just going from place to place. That's what he did. Like, there was no rhyme. Like, he may have been going there to sell the hooks, but I don't think he really had a purpose. I think he just wanders around. Now, I do believe where a couple of instances where he's trying to not be alone for the holidays. You know what I mean? Like, he can't control the weather. He didn't control the pilot or the airplane, but he can control these smaller things.
Yes.
Like, and try to influence Steve Martin's character. Then, like, John Candy or Dale rolls over in the bed, like jumps in the bed and rolls over, and he's acting like a little kid, and he's like, looking back, like, you gonna get back in the bed? You know, like, come on, man. Like, let's just squash this and you get back in the bed and
Get back in bed, honey.
that's
We
right.
won't argue anymore.
That's right. Neil. That's when Neil gets back in the bed. It's like, okay. Well, then next day they wake up, and of course John Candy is
Kissing
the
on
big
his
spoon,
Yes.
and Steve Martin is the little spoon. Why are you kissing on my ear? Why are you holding my hand? Where was your other hand? It's in between two pillows. Those are pillows. That's right.
Infamous scene of that movie.
Oh, it's great.
Between two pillows. Those aren't pillows.
They both jump up and they're like, ah.
Did you see the Bears game last
Yeah,
week?
trying to be all manly and shit. How about that Bears game? Yeah, they're going to win it all this year, huh? Like, well, this is when they get some train tickets and jump on the train, and Neil tries to part ways nicely, and they do. They go their separate ways, and this is at the point where I still feel like, but Dale has
Orchestrated.
kind of rubbed off on Neil, because Neil sits down
that's right.
beside that other person and starts talking to them.
Yep.
Where before he didn't want to talk to any strangers. He wanted to shut up. He wanted to take his trip and go. But now he's talking. I really think at this point, Dale has had an effect on Neil.
Yeah.
Like, in some way or another. Like, so they get, the train goes and then it breaks down. And from what I understand, from what I've heard, like, this happens a lot, where the train breaks down and you got to get your stuff and walk to meet another train or to the road where some buses are supposed to pick you up.
And there's no telling how long it'll take for them buses to get to you before they pick you up.
And so Neil's trekking through the field and happens to notice Dale with his dragging his trunk and having a hard time and everything.
They make eye contact.
Yeah, and that was his downfall. He made eye contact and he was like, oh, he saw me. That's right. So he goes and helps Dale carry his trunk into town or whatever. They get to a bus station, and this is when Dale gets some bus tickets. Just says we're getting on a bus, and they jump on a bus, and it's when the people are making out beside them, and take a picture to last longer kind of deal. But then he informs him, that the bus is only going to go to St. Louis, and then they'd have to find somewhere from there. You know what I mean? All right, y'all. We're at the St. Louis airport where Neil rents a car.
Does he, though?
He does. Like, he's got the rental agreement.
Yeah.
Right at the moment. He rides the shuttle out to the parking lot to get his car, but when he gets there,
There's no car.
none whatsoever. So he looks over and he sees, oh, there's the airport and the rental place. It's just right there. And takes off walking right through it. I mean, he's mad. He threw his rental agreement, took off walking. And by the time he walks back into this place, he is all disheveled, has lost his hat, his tie's up around his head. I don't know how he still got his briefcase. Like, it done been ran over 5 times. Like,
Yes.
it's some kind of badass briefcase. And walks up to this clerk, who's played by Edie McClure, who played...
That's another good actor.
Shit, yeah.
Underrated.
She's the secretary for
That's-
the principal in Ferris Bueller's
Yes.
Day Off.
That's right. That's probably her best, most well-known role right there. And we get the showdown in this movie that actually gets its R rating. Because otherwise, it's just like a PG-13 movie.
Clean movie.
It is. But this, oh man, right here.
18 F-bombs.
Just by Steve Martin. Oh, Edie throws in her own.
Yep. The very last one.
That's right. 18 fucks by Steve Martin and 1 by Edie. And by the time we're done, she tells him he's fucked.
Yep.
That's right.
Because he threw that rental agreement.
That's right. And so from that point forward, he goes and tries to get the taxi. He goes out front. And he's still pissed. And he still has not learned how to read the room or how to interact with people. Like, he just hasn't. And so he goes up to the dude, talking about, can you give me a taxi to Chicago? And he was like, this is St. Louis or whatever. And he was like, yeah, I know, but we need to go to Chicago. I need to go to Chicago or whatever. Are you going to help me or whatever? Like, insults him, so dude punches him. And then he almost gets run over by Dale Griffith. Welcome back, Devil. He offers to give Neil a ride, and he gets in with him, which is the compact version of the family truckster from National Lampoon's Vacation.
Not before he was picked up by his testiculars.
Oh, yes, he was. And talked like this for a good amount of the time.
For a good couple of minutes of the movie.
Dale even points out, I've never seen a man get picked up by his testicles before.
That's right.
That is some craziness.
That's right. And so Steve Martin's driving, and Dale ends up breaking the seat. So when they swap back, Neil's all everywhere.
Shoved into the windshield.
Right. Can't get comfortable for anything. And it's nighttime and he's trying to sleep. Dale's driving.
Dale's just having a party over there in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Getting down.
Doing the mess around. That's right.
He was messing around.
He was.
They're doing the mess around. Everybody doing the mess around.
Throws that cigarette that goes in the back seat, and that's just the beginning of it all. Tries to get his damn jacket off, and it gets hung up on the sides.
Gets both sleeves caught.
But he ends up getting out of it. Like, the car spins out, and he screams. But Neil wakes up, and he's like, "Oh, we almost hit a deer." And Neil's like, maybe you should take that jacket off. It's hot in here.
It's a little hot in here.
He's like, "Yeah, I'll do that."
And the jacket's the whole reason why they spun out.
Right. So I'm guessing that Dale got turned around and now thinks he's still facing the way he's supposed to be going, and takes off and ends up going onto the interstate the wrong way. And there's the people that come up beside him talking about, "You're going the wrong way." And he's like, how do they know where we're going?
That right there alone should have been like, what?
He did. He was like, yeah. How do they know where we're going?
And then, of course, it's the big trucks, the two big trucks, and the cars in between an instance, where it shows them turning into skeletons and Dale Griffith being the devil. Kind of deal.
Laugh.
That's right. He was all happy about it and everything. But luckily, they survived. Car had some damage.
But did you die?
That's right. That kind of deal.
Can be buffed out.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what he said. Or they get the stuff and pull it to the side of the road. And then the car catches on fire. And that's when we find out that John Candy has swapped the credit cards. I'd used his credit card, Neil's credit card, to rent the fucking car. And then it snuck it back into his wallet the last time that they had stopped for gas.
Yep. And
It was in the glove box.
Yep.
Yes.
And put it in the glove box.
And now it's burned up. It's on fire. Oh, damn. Gut shot by Neil to Dale. And then he falls over the trunk again. Instant karma. Just like she said when we was watching. Instant karma. But then they get back in the car and drive this motherfucker that's like half-ass on fire.
It's still hot.
They get to this motel, and Neil actually trades like his watch.
1750.
And yeah.
That pretty badass looking watch.
Oh yeah, from the beginning.
Yeah.
The very first shot in the movie is him looking at his watch, and now he's got to trade it for a room. And he gets a room. And then John Candy tries to get a room.
For
And-
$2 and a Casio.
Yeah, and it wasn't, I'm gonna have to tell you good night is what the dude behind the window said, and the dude behind the window is the lawyer that got ate in Jurassic Park.
Yep. He was sitting on the toilet.
That's right. That's right. Good lawyer. It was good. Num. And then Dale is stuck out in the car, and it's starting to snow and all that. And Neil gets the.
Neil does have a heart.
That's right. We find out that Neil does have a heart, and he tells him to come because Dale would have died.
Yep.
I still am I still believe, like,
He would have died if he would have stayed out.
yes, if he'd have sat out in that car during that storm, he would have died.
Yeah,
And
'cause-
pointing that out is how he got him to come inside.
It is. And he came in, and there was actually 2 beds in this room, though. So, of course, why not?
Yep.
And they start drinking the little bottles of
Spent most of
liquor.
the night up.
That's right. Like, just like dudes.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, they have these spats all day long, but now we're drinking and getting along, we're laughing and ha-ha, and we're talking
Steve
about
Martin made
those.
the comment. It feels like summer camp.
Right.
And he opens the bathroom door just to laugh at the
Yes.
comment and shut it back.
That's right. He was
But
he
that
talking
was a
about
good
marks on his
interaction
ass
between the
and-
two, though, man.
Yes.
That was a good. I was wondering during that part if that was ad-libbed a little or.
Oh, I'm sure.
See, because that would have been sweet.
I'm sure
just to
John
let 'em
Hughes.
roll.
Yeah, I'm sure John Hughes wrote it out a little bit, but
Yeah.
they were probably playing. Why? Okay, you said that.
Edie McClurg.
Well, from the beginning, there have been rumors that this movie was 3.5 to 4 hours long. Like 3 hours and 45 minutes is one of the ones,
Yeah.
and then Steve Martin says it's almost 4.5 hours. Is the first cut of this movie. So can you imagine?
Blooper.
Yes, all the.
God.
All the ad-lib stuff that's sitting on the floor. Like, you had to think that, a lot of this movie was just
A
them
lot of
playing.
it is
Yes.
on the cutting room floor.
And
Right.
them just playing and having a blast.
See,
And yes,
we
Edie
want,
McClurg.
We want to find that version.
oh,
Right.
would love to.
Edie McClurg, the rental, the
Yes.
car rental place, she ad-libbed a lot of her. Like, fucking John Hughes liked her ad-libs and her improvisation so much, he told her to. Like, she did, like, the regular, like, she was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then John Hughes was like, well, now do some improvisation.
Yeah.
And he fucking loved it. So he was like, he used that. Like, it was all her idea.
Yeah, talking about how she
Can't cook and all
I'll take care of
that.
the
Like, that's
crescent
all
rolls.
improvised right there. So John Hughes likes some
Yes.
improv.
Who don't?
Right.
I mean, again, we grew up with those actors. That's what they did.
Right. So the next morning, they wake up and decide to drive this car, which I'm sure I probably would have done the same thing.
But how did this car start?
I don't know. They started it, but it was stuck. They had
The
to rock
radio
it
still
out.
worked.
They had to rock it out. And when they put it in reverse, they backed right up into the room.
Yep.
And they were like, nope, we got to go. Steve Martin jumped in and they take off. And they're going down the road and they're going 78 mile an hour is what the cop says and got him with the radar. But they're just singing along because the radio works and everything. He doesn't know how fast he's going. He even tells Steve Martin that, like, I don't know.
It's melted.
Yeah. So they get pulled over by the state trooper. And he asks them all kind of crazy questions.
Who is the state trooper? Do you remember?
Michael McKean.
Yes.
Yes, is the state trooper, and yeah, he's hilarious in himself.
Yes.
Like, he really is. He's comedic. His comedic timing is like impressive.
Pretty much. Spot on. That's what I
Yes.
was gonna say.
Yeah, he's one of those that he would just look at you, blah, blah, and have you in fucking tears. He asked him all kinds of questions about his car. Does he think it's road? Was it good for the road?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Like,
sir.
so
I
you
do.
don't like,
Deadpan.
yeah, you don't have a mirror. Yeah, he answered just right away, like it wasn't nothing. Like,
No.
it's like, so you don't have a mirror? No, we lost that. Like, no gauges, no gauges whatsoever. Like,
But the radio works.
But the radio works just fine. got to get my friend home for Thanksgiving, who now looks like a bum. But the state trooper impounds the car. But they do end up on a truck with a refrigerated.
With some cheese.
Yes, they didn't. The driver was like, nobody can ride up front. Like, so you're going to have to ride in the back. But it's like a refrigerated back. Yes.
Full of cheese.
Full of cheese. Then they get to Chicago. And they get to the train spot. And they're parting ways and everything. And they actually do get some love from each other. And Steve Martin gets on the train and takes off and starts thinking about Thanksgiving dinner with his family and what's going to happen, and everybody's going to be happy. And then all of a sudden he starts thinking about Dale Griffith.
And everything clicks.
Yeah, he starts thinking about the good times that he had with Dale. Mm-hmm. And then he starts remembering what Dale has said about his wife and him not being home for years and all of that. And it clicks right there that
Dale doesn't have a home for the holidays.
And his wife is dead, or gone, something like that. And turns around, like jumps off and goes back and finds him. And then he tells him the story about he doesn't have a home and his wife died 8 years ago and all that good stuff.
He's just been on the road ever since.
That's right. And so Neil
goes back and gets him.
Like Neil being Dale Griffith.
Yep.
Takes him home with him. Introduces him to the family and everything. And of course, like, everybody's happy to see everybody. Even the wife.
Let me tell you, the wife is so happy because she just realized he wasn't having an affair.
Yeah, one of the subplots written that was deleted out in the editing room was his wife maybe thinking he's having an affair.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, but they cut that out.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't have been. That probably would have messed up the whole vibe of it.
Yeah, there was no need in it.
No.
Like, everything should have been focused on John Candy.
Yeah, what it was doing.
Yeah, Steve Martin anyway, so that was just a little subplot that they didn't even really need.
No.
It was like more worry for nothing.
Yeah, that would have been. And it would have muddled up the whole thing.
Right.
It probably wouldn't have made it as great of a movie as it was.
I'm sure now.
Or is.
Right. I'm sure now Dale and Neil get together every year for Thanksgiving. Like, in the Hughes universe.
Yeah.
The universe.
I was kind of stunned in how it just ended.
Oh, yeah. Him smiling and everything.
Yeah, it just ended.
I would like to talk about some of the actors and John Hughes for a second, because Steve Martin is probably one of the greatest comedians, actors ever. Like, just before this movie, he did the waiter cameo in the Muppet movie, which is one of my favorite cameos in any of the Muppet movies. He was in The Jerk, Three Amigos, Little Shop of Horrors, and his own movie, Roxanne.
Another great one if you like love movies.
And that's all just before Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, there's so many after that. Like, but before, that was just before.
That's not even counting the comedic, stand-up comedy acts that they both used to do.
Yes.
I mean, they were both.
Yes. John Candy.
Yes.
To be honest, up until like a couple weeks ago, I didn't know John Candy was a child actor in Canada.
I didn't either until you were telling me about that.
Right. He was on SCTV, which was like Canada's version of Saturday Night Live. But it was just like a step or two. They go with like a step or two more further than Saturday Night Live would. I mean, a little more bizarre. And I mean, and John Candy had appeared in like 1941. They're all small roles. Vacation, which we just did. National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yep.
He had a small role in Blues Brothers, a good role in Stripes and Splash.
Yes.
But then Spaceballs.
Spaceballs.
Watch out! That's right.
Bar.
That's right. That's right.
Bar.
Yeah, we will get the Spaceballs for sure. But that John Candy, and a little about John Hughes. Of course, he wrote a lot for National Lampoons. He got a lot of hell, really. He caught a lot of flack for doing those teen angst movies that he did, like 16 Candles and Breakfast Club and all that. So he decided he was going to do some more adult fare. And that's where this movie came in. He made this movie, and She's Having a Baby. And it showed him right straight up that he wasn't just stuck doing the teen angst stuff. He could do grown-up, adult stuff. And of course, since then, he has showed that he can do more than just teenage stuff anyway. He wrote Home Alone and all kind of other movies. So, I mean, he has moved up, and he did a lot.
Of course, he's a great.
He always will be remembered as such.
Yes.
I can't, man, that's John Hughes, too. We still needed more John Hughes, too.
Yes, we did.
16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Bueller.
And that's just like a whole list of movies we gonna do, pretty much. And that's all John Hughes. And to be honest,
are all basic movies we grew up with. Like
it is.
Classic movies we grew up with.
It is, and I didn't realize it until within the past few years of how much John Hughes
shaped
a
lot of art,
because I knew he did a lot of these movies, but he wasn't behind the camera in some of them.
No,
like National Lampoon's Vacation. He wrote that movie, yes, but he didn't. He wasn't behind the camera, but he wrote that movie, and there was a lot of movies that he had written, and it's that he wasn't behind the camera, but he did the damn thing. And he was writing. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
It's another one of those that it already existed when I existed.
Right.
So it was just an every Thanksgiving it was on.
That's right. That's awesome, actually. I love having this movie as a tradition where it plays every year for Thanksgiving. Yes.
It plays no matter what anyway.
Yeah. I'll play it. Yeah. Any special memories or anything tied to this movie? You just remember it being on Thanksgiving?
Remember the family gatherings.
That's right. And he wants a fucking car right fucking now.
I want a fucking car right fucking now.
What about you? You remember the first time you saw it?
I don't remember when, but I know it was with my dad.
Right.
I just couldn't. It was probably at Thanksgiving. Or no. Blockbuster, baby.
Yes.
That's probably where it was. Or Hastings is probably where it was. One of them two. I know that much.
That's right.
But yeah, I remember watching it with my dad. We were in Bryant still.
Hell yeah.
But other than that, yeah, it was always a good time to hang out with just my dad. So
yes,
anytime with that's a good time.
Hell yeah. It's great. I'm pretty sure it was 6 months after it came out in the theater, and it was on the shelf at Movie Go Round, and we rented it, so that would make it like April of '88. I went to my dad's for the weekend, and we went and rented it, and I didn't make it all the way through it, and then he took me home, and then he come and got me again at some point in the near future, and we went back to Movie Go Round, and I wanted it again. And I didn't make it through it again. So my dad kept asking me why I wanted it, because I want to make it through, and I love what I have make it through, you know what I mean? But this is one of those movies that goes back to my dad, too.
Yep.
You have any final thoughts in the grade?
Final thoughts is everybody needs to see this movie every year.
I agree.
It should be tradition. Unless you just don't like comedy and don't like to laugh, but that's your prerogative. And I would definitely give it an A.
Hell yeah.
A all around.
That's right.
And I agree with her 100%. It's just a great movie.
It is.
two great actors doing what they do best.
That's
I mean,
right.
heck, let me rephrase that. A whole list of actors doing what they do best.
They do. Yes, from top to bottom, this whole movie. I give it an A, of course. I think before we started, I told y'all that this would probably be in my top 10 of movies overall. Like, not just comedies, like not just 80s movies. Like, I love this movie, like,
yes.
a lot. I was so excited. Like, today is the day before Thanksgiving. We're watching it. Tomorrow will be Thanksgiving, and we will watch it.
Watch it again.
Like, you know, because it is a tradition to watch it every year for Thanksgiving. And it'll never stop until I stop, and hopefully it continues past, you know, like with my kids and everything past me.
It will.
Like,
It will.
and an A for me, all A's. Like, I don't get no better than this, especially for Thanksgiving. It's the greatest Thanksgiving movie ever made. It just is. Well, y'all ready to get up out of here?
I am.
All right. If y'all like what we do here, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Hit that bell. Leave some comments. Tell us what you think about planes, trains, and automobiles. If you watch it, or if you don't watch it, why you don't watch it. Tell us. Like, I'm down to listen. I've been Chuck.
I've been Brandy.
I'm Brian.
We've been the Legion of Nerds. Y'all don't have too much fun. Happy Thanksgiving.
Turkey, turkey.
Couple, couple.
Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.